We're in just the second day of this January transfer window, and it looks like West Ham mean business with plenty of deals in the pipeline and some very nearly confirmed. Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. You join me for our first transfer show of this January window, and it's come a lot earlier than I expected. I try and be a little bit hesitant when I discuss rumours and potential deals going over the line, but it seems like we have made significant progress in the opening 48 hours of this window. I have 7 stories to discuss. We're going to go through, have a little bit of a chat and a discussion about all of them, and have a little rating of how good and potentially positive or negative they could be for West Ham United. But before I start talking about incomings, there are a couple of outgoings that we do need to discuss. First of all, Nicholas Fulkrug. He has left the club. He has joined AC Milan on loan. There is an option to buy in that deal for the summer if they want to. The 32-year-old German has scored 3 goals in 29 appearances for the Hammers. Yet again, another striker transfer that hasn't worked under this Sullivan regime. We have been historically and just pathetic with signing strikers, from Skamaka to Haller and add Fulkrug right to the top of this list, because he has been another failure up front for West Ham. And unfortunately, it has been the same old story, as I've said, for striker after striker. We just cannot seem to find a sort of good balance between a player scoring goals and contributing to the team. Fulkrug was slow, lethargic. The best thing he did was call out the team in a post-match press conference after a game towards the back end of last season, sort of heat of the moment thing where he called out people. But then again, you can't really call people out when you aren't doing your job very well yourself. So, yeah, he won the fans over for a short period with that outburst after one of our many defeats last season. However, he just never cut the mustard, did he? He didn't look a threat. We thought we were bringing in, a player that played in the Champions League final, a player that had played for Borussia Dortmund and played for Germany up front. We thought this could be, despite, knowing it was towards the end of his career, could be a decent player we're bringing in here. But no, not to be. Nicholas Fulkrug, I think it's right that we've shipped him out. We're probably still paying his wages, to be honest. But at least he's gone out the way. He was never going to work, and he hasn't worked. And let's just put that to bed, because we have much more important things to be worrying about in the coming months. Good afternoon to you watching in the chat. Sam, hope you're well. Good business already moving out Fulkrug and Giller. Looks like Guido is off too. Guessing we will sign quite a few. Let's hope so. Good afternoon from the gym. Who was our last successful striker who wasn't a converted winger? Holton Cole? Was he a converted winger? I don't know. I just can't. I can't think of somebody that we've brought in, barring obviously Antonio, that has been a rip-roaring success. Hasn't to be, is it? Good afternoon. Do you think Nuno will keep 4 at the back, considering we'll have 3 forwards for only 1 striker position? Now, we're going to come on to that a little bit later. That's something that Nuno has to, internally discuss, and that's what they've got to come to an agreement. We're not going to have all these players ready for tomorrow, but certainly you'd like to think, with how in depth these players, deals are, it seems like we could be getting them in most certainly for the week after. So that's when he's got to try and weave them into the side. Next up, our second and final little story about outgoings is Louis Guilherme, and the theme continues, doesn't it, of failed players. He's going to leave West Ham, we're hearing, on a permanent transfer to Sporting Lisbon. Total package reaching around 17 million euros. So what's that, 15 million quid? So we're going to half our money on him, essentially. I think we paid around 30 all in for him a couple of years ago. It was in the height of the Tim Steidten era, a player that I think was probably bought because Steidten went for a long time to Brazil to try and scout some players, probably didn't find them, and brought Guilherme back, and he just hasn't cut the mustard again, has he? I keep saying mustard because I put this onto yellow, but he hasn't cut the mustard at all. It's been poor. He hasn't had the physicality or the quality. A young lad, probably not quite ready for the Premier League. A poor bit of recruitment, again, a recurring theme from Tim Steidten. He brought in some good players, but also some not so good players as well. So that was again a deal that felt like it had to happen and it has happened. So we've shipped out two players that we probably all expected to depart the club either in January or in the upcoming summer. I'd expect Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez to follow pretty soon after if we can get some buyers in for them and just get a little bit of money into the bank, because it seems like we are spending and it seems like Sullivan has reached into his pocket and realised if we don't spend then we will go down and his all of his assets will weaken, because we won't be worth as much in the Championship as we will be in the Premier League. He was more of a success than anybody else we've had in the last 10 years, so I'm going to count it. Do you think Castellanos is brought in because Paqueta is off soon? Again, potentially. That's not something I thought of directly, but he is another player that I wouldn't be surprised to see depart the club in January. It feels like it's just time, either now or in the summer, for Paqueta to leave. Arnautovic, I forgot about him. Giller is talented and it's a good sale. Bought at the wrong time. West Ham shouldn't have been spending good money on kids. Absolutely. In the situation we were in at the time, where we needed players for there and then, with quality, in 3 or 4 years' time, he might be brilliant. He might come back to the Premier League and be brilliant, but just not quite ready. And we need a bit of money in to reinvest in players that are ready in this dire situation we're in at the moment. So I think it's wise. We haven't had to pay any of the add-ons for Giller, so only 20 million we paid for him in the end. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine he has reached any performance-based add-ons, to be honest. But so yeah, it's in that sort of region. So we're nearly getting our money back in that sense. Happy New Year, Sharky. Thank you very much indeed. And Happy New Year to all of you watching us. Thank you very much. Smash the like button. We at Leeds, we're linked with Castellanos in the summer. We'll come on to him in just a second. Two strikers, I know, Mark. Or is one of them a number 10? I believe they're two forwards, as far as I'm aware. I mean, hopefully we get them over the line and we'll see for ourselves. But I'm pretty sure we have signed two centre forwards. So will it be two failures? Will it be one failure? Will it be two successes? Wow. Who can foresee or predict that? But yeah, let's carry on. Mark, another Mark. Good to see business done early for a change. Yeah, it's a rarity. So I've been politely surprised that I am doing a rather big transfer update show on the 2nd of January. I don't think I've ever done such a comprehensive show so early on in a transfer window, because we don't normally start thinking about it till the middle of January, do we? So a welcome surprise from West Ham. Let's go on to players that are going to be joining the club. First of all, Pablo. Just Pablo. Deal completed to sign the striker from Portuguese club Gil Vicente for around £17 million is what we're hearing. George Mendes was crucial in the deal. Of course, he has close ties with Nuno. I think he's his agent for the player. So he has been pivotal in this deal getting over the line. He has scored 10 goals in 13 appearances in the Portuguese first division this season. Listen, I can't sit here and say, oh, I've heard of the bloke. And I think honesty is the best policy in this sense. I had never heard of him until last week. But to spruce things up a little bit, I think there's been 5 Pablos that have played for West Ham over the years. Full marks for whoever can name all 5 of them in the comment section. I think I saw earlier on Twitter there are 5 Pablos. So whoever can name all of them gets a prize. I cannot guarantee a prize, but yeah, so get away in the chat. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Pablo that we're signing is the 6th. So if you can name the 5 other Pablos, then top marks to you. But anyway, I was getting distracted. I don't know what he's like. We're soon going to find out, aren't we? I don't think that the paperwork has been inputted in time for him to be playing on tomorrow, Saturday, at Molineux. We're hearing from X that it's pretty much over the line. He is a West Ham player. We're just waiting for that official announcement. So we're now in territory of waiting for the round hour. So 3 o'clock, when that comes by, we might have an official announcement for Pablo then. But we're just gonna have to test him, do the old-fashioned eye test with him, aren't we? Because we've never heard of him. Let's hope that he's good. Let's hope he's got a bit of pace and physicality and can score goals. He's scored a few goals, unlike the other player that we're bringing in. So yeah, I mean, Portuguese league obviously not going to be as as strong and good as the Premier League, but hopefully he's a player that that can help us get out of this mess, really. But we will see. Let's take some of your comments. Can Nuno play new strikers? I mean, can he play two strikers at once? Will he switch up the system? That's what we're going to discuss in just a second. Sean, two gambles, Sorry, two strikers are a gamble. They don't have convincing CVs, but the club has to take gambles now. Yeah, I agree. Yes, can't disagree with that at all. We had to stick our head above the parapet and bring some players in. I think the fan base would have preferred players we'd heard of, but we're not exactly shopping in the deluxe aisle, are we, at the moment with our current situation? Because you can't imagine too many strikers would be licking their lips at the prospect of coming into this West Ham side at the moment. So I think to get two players in, we will soon see how good or not so good they are. Are you going to do a preview ahead of tomorrow's game? I am. We are live at 7 o'clock tonight. I have a stellar pack of guests joining me to dissect the very important game tonight. So 7 o'clock right here on West Ham Unofficial, our match preview. We're going to come on to Charlie Cresswell. He's the last story, Danny. So we'll talk about him and we'll get your input. What's your thoughts on Cresswell? Put it into the chat and we'll have a little conversation about him towards the end of the show. Nobody really knows, just to be honest. I hope so, but I think probably not. Have we got the paperwork in time? Only time will tell. Fornals is one of the players. Zabaleta is. Oh, I've clicked the wrong comment. Hang on. Right, let's start again. Fornals is one of the five. Zabaleta is the second of the five. And nobody else has got any more. So we've got Zabaleta, we've got Fornals, you've got three more Pablos. Rack your brains, people, in the chat. De Canio does not count. It does not count, no. Panic buys, Michael. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Sean, Pablo has been struggling with an injury the last month. 9 goals in 12 league games this season. Nothing at all last season before, really. That's what you're getting. Absolutely. I mean, as I said, we weren't exactly shopping from an aisle of supreme quality in the supermarket of strikers. So we've got to, go with what we've been dealt. I saw he had a hamstring injury and he's played 3 or 4 games coming back after it, and he's sort of played half an hour, 70 minutes. In the last game, he played a full game, so he's getting back to full fitness after an injury. But yeah, it's not amazing, rip roaring stats in the Portuguese league, but you never know. With the slight bit of quality we have in our team around him, something might spark. We've just got to hope at this stage. We just have to hope. He's not like, we don't know. Obiang is not one of them. He is not one of them. So we've got 4 now, Zabaleta, and we've got 3 more. Sam says there's talk the registration may be done, but we haven't announced it yet. I mean, there's talk of that, and there's talk of it the other side of the coin that it hasn't been done. So we'll just have to wait and see. West Ham have to panic buy to an extent. They aren't buying players much better. Yeah. We have expired our time of plotting players and trying to go on the quality of the Premier League and all the rest of it. If they're available, I think we're going to bring them in, to be honest. If 2 strikers come in, does Wilson leave? I don't think he will. I think he'll be used, and we'll have a conversation about this now before we move on to Tati Castellanos, who we're going to speak about next, another striker. So we've gone from a position where we had 2 strikers with Fulkrug and Wilson. Bowen and Paqueta could fill gaps, really, nothing else. Fulkrug's gone. We're down to 1 striker, but Fulkrug's been gone for a long time in our minds, really. So we've had Wilson as our only striker, proper striker, for quite some time. We're bringing 2 in. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of, does he chuck them in? Does he completely change the formation? Do we go, I don't know, 2 up front? Do we go to a Sean Dyche 4-4-2, part the buff to try and keep us up with either Wilson and one of these new players or both of these new players? Only time will tell. Will he just go with one and play one of them and see what they're like and give them a go? There is a lot of options and factors that play into this. But put your thoughts in. What would you do if we have, not for the Wolves game tomorrow, but for our next game after that? I can't think who we're playing. Is it the cup game against QPR? Maybe after that. So the next league game, whenever that is, I think it's Tottenham actually, isn't it? Blimey. Maybe that's not the time for experimentation. But sorry, we've got Forest on Tuesday, haven't we? Another big game, right? So we could have a situation where we have both of these strikers signed in time and fit for the game on Tuesday against Nottingham Forest. A massive game at home, a game we simply have to win, just like tomorrow. So with that game in mind, would you stick with 1 striker and play Wilson? Or would you give Wilson a rest and play him tomorrow and play one of these strikers, or play both of them? Then where does Bowen fit into this? And we'd have to completely switch the formation. Let's see. Well, Sam, I've heard great things about tonight's guest. So have I. So have I. I've heard that we've got some quality coming on. I'd be surprised if Cresswell wants to join, to be honest. Big lump of a centre back. Currently at Toulouse. We're going to speak about him later on. So, yeah, another, a player that I've heard of. But, yeah. Afternoon, frogging a well. I hope you well. We've got another one. We've got 3 out of the 5. Pablo Armero is one of the Pablos. We've got 2 left. I'll give you a... I'll see if anyone else has got them in the chat. Let me scroll down. There we go. Leslie's on it. Pablo Barrera. That is another one. There we are. So we've got another one there, and I think we've already had that one, haven't we? Yeah, we've had Armero. Yeah. So we're missing one. We're missing one. And I can tell you he is a Portuguese. Does that mean it's this guy? I think it does. Right, it's 4. My apologies. Pablo Felipe is the guy that we're signing. My apologies. So Pablo Felipe is the other player joining us. So well done. Full marks to everybody in the chat for getting all of the Pablos in West Ham's very long and lovely history. Right, let's take some more of your comments. Danny, I'm going to leave. I'm going to star your thoughts. I'm going to leave your thoughts for Cresswell until a little bit later on. Happy New Year, mate. There was a Castellanos at Leicester, wasn't there? I think it's a different one. I think. Graham, hope you well. Hi from Canada. Where did that lying little toad find all of his money? Well, there we go. There we go. Every other team makes these signings work, so no reason why at least one of these won't. Exactly. Got to be a diverse and try and find something that's going to, bring us some success. Down the side of the sofa, Graham, I reckon. Down the side of the sofa. Danny says normally if paperwork is in dinner time before the game they can play, but clubs announce it when they want to. Yeah, it's as long as the paperwork is in by I think it's 12 p.m. midday today. It could be a 3-5-2, Sean. Yeah, absolutely. I mean that would be what he'd probably switch to in that sense. Start both of them against Forest. 3-5-2 gets the worst out of Bowen. That is a good point. That is a good point. Bergshammer, ideally Castellanos needs to play with another forward to be more effective. Will Nuno play 2 up top? We will see. We will see. Everyone hit the likes up. Indeed, smash that like button if you haven't already. If Cresswell wants to come back to England, wait until the summer would make sense. Yeah, it's hard to disagree. Pablo Felipe is the other one. There we go. So you've got all of the Pablos. Top marks, everybody. Jolly good. Our defence needs sorting. It's abysmal. Hopefully, Aaron Wan-Bissaka doesn't get injured at AFCON. Castellanos had most of his career in the US in the MLS. We will have 2 potato salad and very good indeed. Right, talking of Tati, let's go to him, my mate Tati Castellanos. Never heard of him either. Transfer nearly completed, we're hearing. 29 million euros, another 25 million quid chucked on a striker. He's coming from our good friends Lazio. He hasn't scored since the end of September in Serie A. I did laugh to myself when I did type that out a little bit earlier on today. A player that doesn't have great stats, to be totally honest. A player that hasn't been ripping things up. He again had a hamstring injury. So he's, like Pablo, had a few injuries so far this season. He scored 1 in August, 1 in September. He was injured throughout the whole of basically September and October. I'm sorry, October and November. He come back at the end of November, and he has played 4 games since. He's been involved in a couple of draws, a win and a defeat for Lazio. So I've read some comments on Twitter from Lazio fans, and they haven't been too complimentary of their man, to be honest. They've said that he definitely needs somebody around them, is the common denominator that I've been hearing from their fans, that he needs somebody playing off him, that when he's isolated up front, you can't get the best out of him. And boy, have we heard that before with basically every striker we've signed. So it all leads to playing 2 strikers, doesn't it? It all leads to that sort of 3-5-2 formation. Who goes where, I'm not entirely sure, but it is leading to that way, I think. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, any thoughts about him? Put it in the comment section. Again, we're not somebody that would have sprung off the page. Obviously, Lazio is, and in the Serie A is a slightly more, you'd say, respected league than the Portuguese league. But Lazio have been, I don't know how Lazio have been doing this year, but I don't think they've been ripping up too many trees, and certainly not with this guy playing just a few games and a couple of goals. They're 8th in the league, and I think they've got a couple of other striker options as well. So again, as I said with the Pablo deal, we're not shopping in the deluxe aisle here, are we? We've got to hope that one of these two players can click, can score 5 or 10 goals in the 18 games that we have left to get us safety. That's all we need. That's basically what we're chucking money at now. We're chucking money to hope players can score goals to keep us up. Essentially, that's the task, and that's the objective for West Ham at the moment. Let's take some more of your comments. Both our AFCON players are still there. They got through to the next round, I think, both of them. Tati had a bad injury. That's why he didn't go for him in the summer. Interesting. It does feel like a lot of money on this one. I agree. Again, though, West Ham have to pay over the odds probably in their situation. We've discussed this in previous weeks. Clubs who are switched on know that we're desperate for a goal scorer. They know we're desperate. They know we're desperate for quality and just anybody that we can probably get offered to us at the moment because it's pretty bleak. So that inflates first of all, that inflates the price. We're in the January transfer window. That inflates the price instantly because it's in the middle of the season. It's inconvenient for clubs to lose players that they use there as a squad player or a first team player, so that adds a little bit more on to it as well. So this was always going to be difficult, and I don't give credit very much to West Ham and recruitment, and these players might be absolute crap, and there's probably a good chance they will be, but you've got to give them credit. We've said we do not have the time or the games left to be messing about on deadline day trying to bring strikers in. It's the second day of the window, and it looks like we've pretty well got 2 strikers in. So you can't fault that. The quality of them, that's, to be discussed and observed later on. But purely for the speed of getting bodies in who could potentially, nobody knows watching this, they could or they couldn't. Nobody can see into the future. These players could help us, and to get them in and potentially to have one of them in for a game on the 3rd of January, it's very unlike West Ham. It's very speedy, and I think it's probably indicative of the situation we're in. And even Sullivan has woke up and smelt the coffee here and realised the big, big mess West Ham are in. Sam says, does sound like maybe in for Paqueta then. Again, a player I wouldn't be surprised if he left the club in either January or the summer. Sean could be worse. We could piss away 40 million on a bloke called Kilman. Yeah. So if you notice there, I don't give West Ham's recruitment praise very often at all. Very rarely, in fact. And I might slag these players off, but for speed, we've done it well. They could be Max Kilman type players. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the amount of money we've spent on this man. £25 million. His stats aren't great. The Lazio fans don't have many good things to say, and he's coming into a team that historically don't do well with strikers and don't get the best out of strikers. So for this one, all roads are leading to a not very good deal. I've got a little bit more confidence in Pablo. I don't know why. That's just my gut instinct. But as I've continually said, we'll have to wait and see and judge their quality when they put on that claret and blue shirt. Tati's only 5'10", blimey. So we need a big guy to help him. He is not very tall then. So that's another interesting dynamic. I wonder whether West Ham have really thought that through because we would prefer somebody a little bit bigger up front, wouldn't we? Graham, we seriously need to get a real footballer in to replace Kilman. He is an absolute liability indeed. Charlie Creswell is one we're going to discuss later on. Do we think these two will score more goals than Strand Larsen? Answer is probably a yes, so that makes them a much better sign. I mean, it's ifs and buts, isn't it? Who knows? Strand Larsen might have come into our side and scored 15 goals. I doubt it. Currently, he's leading the line for the worst team that I've ever seen in the Premier League in Wolves with just 3 points halfway through the season. So that Strand Larsen deal had West Ham written all over it because of what I've just mentioned, but we've gone elsewhere probably for the price tag, and we feel we could get a little bit more value in different leagues. Sharky, Senegal play tomorrow against Sudan. Congo face Algeria on Tuesday. Thank you very much. The beacon of knowledge for our AFCON related players. Injury news. I mean, we've got injury news, haven't we? Paqueta's out to the 7th of January. He's got a bit of a problem. Tadebo's out with a groin injury for a few weeks. So we were always going to get injuries. Nobody could have sat here and said we can go through the season with no injuries because we've got a paper thin squad, and it's a good job we're bringing players in swiftly because otherwise we wouldn't even have a squad to do. I've heard through various sources that it is that these are Nuno picks. That's what most people seem to be saying, that Nuno has pushed for them, as he has Traore, which we can discuss in a second as well. It seems like it is Nuno's picks, but yeah, let's hope so anyway. Pablo is a good hold-up play, but not pacey. That's brilliant. That will fit the theme of West Ham well, won't it? Because we have got lots of pace. Pablo is 6'1", so he's got a little bit more pace about him. Stuart, I'd be much more confident if Cresswell was the quick signing rather than the strikers. I'd be in agreement with that. You know, a player that has played in the Premier League before, one that we've heard of, one we've been linked with before. So there's an area of familiarity with Cresswell, whereas with these other two, it's a bit of a stab in the dark, isn't it? Congo could be out on Tuesday. Let's get our players back ASAP. Wolves have only conceded a couple of goals, more than us though. Yep, tomorrow has a defeat written all over it. You know, I said the same thing to Dad earlier. I said Paqueta being out isn't a massive loss to us at the moment, and that sounds harsh, but it really isn't. It really isn't a massive loss. Right, next up, let's go to. I've got Raheem Sterling next because I thought that we had to discuss it. It's one that's came out in the last 24 hours or so. It sort of was hyped up and then it was patted down a little bit. West Ham are interested in the England international, but we want a loan deal. However, Sterling is requiring a permanent move. I think Fulham have been interested in him potentially as a replacement for Adama Traore, who we are going to discuss next. But yeah, look. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna. I'd be shocked if we sign this player. I'd be shocked if we signed Sterling, but I'm not going to sit here and criticise it if we do, because I had to eat so much humble pie when we signed Jesse Lingard, and this is just Jesse Lingard all over again. The deja vu that I'm currently getting is very, very strong. A player that was disillusioned, played in the Premier League, but wasn't cutting the mustard. I've used that phrase a lot today. And then just needed a new move and a fresh start. Yes, okay, Sterling has had plenty of new moves and fresh starts. It hasn't worked, but who knows? If we signed him and it was a loan until the end of the season, I wouldn't be against it. We need squad depth. We need players. As I said earlier, players are going to get injured. The wages is a problem. I've heard that it's in the region of £300,000 to £325,000 a week. If we could get a deal where some of his wages are still being paid by his parent club and on a loan to the end of the season, then I don't think that's a horrific deal, to be totally honest. But I can't see it happening. He wants a permanent deal. I don't think we're going to sign him on a permanent basis. So that was lauded up a little bit yesterday afternoon. There's a bit of excitement on social media regarding that, but I'd be surprised if Sterling is a West Ham player by the end of January, in my opinion. But nice idea, and it did make sense. I nodded my head in a Jesse Lingard way as that rumour did begin to surface yesterday afternoon. It'll be what it'll be. I'll be shocked. That's what I'll say. I'll be shocked if we do bring in Sterling this January transfer window. Put your thoughts in. Would you have taken Sterling? Chelsea will pay 75% of those wages to any club. Yeah, I mean, if we could have a split of the wages, then I wouldn't say no, to be honest. I wouldn't say no at all. Sterling, 320k a week is a smokescreen. Sullivan is never going to pay that. I do agree. Forest wants Strand Larson as well, so we can't compete as our owners won't go near the 40 million Wolves want. We probably offered 15 plus 2 million. We would have offered 15 plus 2 add-ons. They went 40. We'd have went, what about 18 plus 2 million add-ons? Because we like that, don't we? Graham, it will be very interesting to see how well we do without Paqueta. He is so hit and miss at the moment. I think our midfield and our forward line will function better without Lucas Paqueta, in my opinion, but time will tell. Mustard is spread, not cut. Is it? Oh yeah, it is. That's true. Yeah, so that's a stupid saying, isn't it? I mean, I've heard people say it. I know it's a saying, but I do also take your point in the sense of that. Yeah, mustard is spread, not cut. So why? What? Does anybody know the origins of cut the mustard? I've just lost 5 viewers talking about mustard. Let's stop talking about mustard and let's move on to a player that could be mustard for West Ham United, Adama Traore. Oh, we've heard this name before, and oh, this player has terrorised West Ham over the years. We are renowned to have a side with very little pace. So Traore on his day has ripped us a new one far too many times. I remember Wolves away, actually, about 5 or 6 years ago. We lost 2 or 3-0 and he just absolutely battered Cresswell down that side. Just his pace. We could never, ever deal with his pace. A player that whenever we came up against Wolves, whenever he was playing well, I always dreaded that battle of whoever we had in the fullback position against Traore because he caused us no end of problems. However, I think he's a little. I've mentioned in his heyday. I think he's a little bit past his heyday, to be honest. But he still lobbed that baby oil on, and he probably still could do a job for West Ham. We're pushing for an agreement with an initial 6-month contract. I think that's probably in light of the potential injury record that Traore does possess. According to reports, Fulham do want around £7 million for the player. That came from the Sun. There is a difference in wage expectations at the moment, which is just staggering the deal. But there is a belief that this can be done and this deal can be agreed and we can get Traore in claret and blue very, very soon. People have turned their noses up at it, but I don't mind it at all. I'd take him. We need pace desperately. Desperately need pace. You imagine with, I don't know what side he'd go on, but when we get Juve and Wan-Bissaka back, you've got one of those two, and then I'll say Ward-Prowse then. Where's that name come from? Well, I think I was saying Wan-Bissaka, Wan-Bissaka or Juve and Traore on one side. There's some pace there. There's also some injury concerns, but there is some pace which could cause teams problems and give us a bit of X factor and a bit of something different because we're so predictable in our play. We're so, one-dimensional. And a bit of pace and skill and nip from Traore could really benefit us. So I wouldn't be against it. I know it's not for some people, but I wouldn't be against it. Let's take some of your comments. The mustard plant is cut. See, you learn something new every day. So the plant the mustard comes from is cut. That's where the saying comes from. Very good. 7 million as a loan fee is mental. 2 million tops. I think it's going to be a 6-month, like we sign him permanently, but we put him on a 6-month contract and then reassess in the summer whether we want to keep him on for any further. Sean, take a punt on Sterling if still available over Traore, not both. Yeah, see, there has been this debate that has been brewing on social media about whether we need both. I don't know. I'm unsure. I'm on the fence whether we need both to us because if you look, when we've got everyone back, wingers, we've got Bowen, we've got Somerville. You've probably chucking Paqueta into there. We're losing Giller. I don't think it would be the end of the world if we signed it. If we can afford both of them, then sod it, take it. But I think one is probably going to be the most likely outcome. I don't think we'll sign Sterling, but yeah, I would agree with Sean. I'd probably prefer Sterling over Traore at this point, but but yeah, I'm a little bit undecided on that. Sterling could be brilliant. It could be a revelation. It could be Lingard all over again. And listen, there's risks with all these players. There's a recurring theme of I feel like I'm a broken record repeating myself over the last half an hour because there's no guarantee with any of these players. There's no guarantee with any player when you sign them that they're going to be brilliant. Just look at Alexander Isak, for God's sake. Look at Wirtz, right? So there's no guarantee with any player that they're going to be brilliant. But we are having to sign players that we probably don't want to sign because of the situation that we're in and probably the financial constraints that Sullivan is enforcing. So with the situation that we have, I don't think Sterling is a bad deal at all. Sterling has been underwhelming in recent years. I wouldn't touch him unless he was for free. I get your point, but I present you Jesse Lingard again. There we go. Colin, no to Traore. Fair enough. Sterling's not going to be free, is he? He wants 300k. It will be a loan, absolutely. Any news? I think James Ward-Prowse will leave the club, but I've not heard too much on that yet. But I'd expect him this month to leave because he's not even being included on the bench, which is baffling because I'm no fan of James Ward-Prowse, but he's a lot better than Guido Rodriguez and he's making his way onto the bench. So something quite good has happened with Ward-Prowse and his West Ham career, I expect, will end very, very soon. Our pitch would suit Sterling and Traore, in my opinion. I'd make Juve left winger. He's definitely more of a winger than a fullback, isn't he? Ollie Scholes left back and Somerville, if Somerville not 100% fit. Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, so there's Traore. So there's a couple of players. There's a couple of wingers there. So there's a couple of strikers in Pablo and Castellanos that we think are close to being signed. A couple of wingers that we think are a little bit further away, but could be signed for West Ham in this window. So a couple of wingers, a couple of strikers. Where else do we need to bolster defensively? And that is my final story of the day. Charlie Creswell. Now I've got that comment from the Leeds fan I'm going to go through in just a second. So we're going to go through Danny's comment shortly. But first of all, Nuno is keen to bolster the defence. I don't know what happened there. Where's my little banner gone? It was on a timer. Oh, I love StreamYard. Just bear with me. Here we go. Right, let's start again. So Charlie Creswell. Nuno, of course, wants to bolster the defence. Hopefully, if we sign Creswell, we can leave Kilman at Wolves tomorrow. It was his old club. I'm sure they'll have him back. he can't be much worse than what they've got. They've conceded plenty of goals, so they're used to mediocrity and crap up there, so they can have Kilman back. But no, he is a leading target currently. I had to have a little look because he was at Leeds, but he's now at Toulouse, and he has made 16 appearances in Ligue 1 for Toulouse this season. He has scored 3 goals as well, I presume, from corners, but he's got himself on the score sheet on 3 occasions so far this season, and he has been a stalwart at the centre back position. So he's played every game basically. So far this season, he did play for Millwall back in the day, played for Leeds under-18s, under-21s, and the first team. A player that is very seasoned and knows English football quite well. And I wouldn't be against it. I'm a huge fan of this signing. At the age of 23, English. He's quite tall. He's been pretty decent. I mean, let's have a little look at the Leeds fans comment and see what he says. Danny says, my thoughts on Creswell are he wanted to play first team football but couldn't get past Rodon. Then his dad chubbed up singing what if first team football. We sold him for 3.5 million with 15% sell-on clause. So if he's sold to us, then Leeds will get a bit of money back. That's interesting. So not a great deal of money in it. So it won't be an expensive signing. Of course, it's going to be inflated because of our position and because of the fact we're in the January window. But I think this is something that is realistic and could get done. I think it was Jacob Steinberg, a pretty reliable West Ham source, has said we're pushing to get this deal done, and I'm really hoping that we can do this just for a bit of solidity. I think Todibo's been pretty good. He's had a couple of shaky moments in the last couple of games, but the last couple of months I think Todibo's been better. Todibo and Creswell I think just looks a million times better than Kilman and Mavropanos, because that is pretty dire, isn't it? So again, I think we need to stop our defensive errors. The only way to do that is to improve defensively, and I think Charlie Creswell is an astute signing. People have heard of him. He's done it before. I think he's a player that could really improve West Ham's backline, which again isn't a difficult thing to do, but we need it to happen, and I think Charlie Creswell could be a good signing for West Ham. Kilman should quit football and become a vicar. Creswell moving feels like a career gamble for him in January. It does. Look, he's playing first team football in Toulouse. Whether he's quite happy there or not, only time will tell. But with us, would he want to fight relegation? We'd have to probably guarantee him a spot in the side, and I think we probably should guarantee him a spot in the side. He's contracted to Toulouse until 2028, so he's got a couple of years left on his contract. He's played under 21, I think, for England as well, or he's certainly been in and around that setup in the past. And yeah, I think that this is a deal. If it's been given to us and if it's available, I think this is a deal that we should be getting over the line in the next week or so. There we are. That's probably the most extensive and comprehensive transfer update I've done so early in a transfer window. West Ham are certainly not hanging about at the moment, and they are heading out and getting the players through the door by the looks of it. I don't think we had a 3 o'clock announcement of Pablo, but we're expecting him to be announced very shortly, maybe Castellanos in the coming days as well. I think attention will most likely then turn to wingers and defenders, because I think 2 strikers is more than enough players to sign. So we'll see. We will see. And I think it's important that we get 1 or 2 wingers in and a couple of defenders as well. And I think that will be an really excellent January transfer window, purely off of bodies, not quality. We have not seen the quality yet. It could be a dreadful window if the players are poor. Excuse me. But yeah, let's hope that they're decent. Let's hope that these players can slot into the side and just help us move up that table, get wins on the board. I mean, we need points, and that starts tomorrow. Join us at 7 o'clock right here on West Ham Unofficial. We're going to discuss the Wolves game. So our Wolves versus West Ham preview will be coming to you live here on West Ham Unofficial from 7 p.m. Massive game, and we will preview it a little bit later on. Final few comments. Thank you very much, Graham. Where did I get to here? He played loads for the England under 21s. Millwall fans loved him. I think it will be an astute signing, to be honest. We need to sign a cap. We need some leadership in the team. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Someone who will ball out the players who are not contributing, a Soufal type player that's going to really command his team. 100%, I agree with that. Michael would still take Harvey Elliott on, and I think he's had a really turbulent and not very effective time out. Is he I think he's at Aston Villa, isn't he? And I think there was also a rumor that he's going to move on from there as well. So he hasn't been great in his time out on loan. But yeah, Charlotte from the MLS are looking to sign Harvey Elliott because he is likely to return to Liverpool after being unused at Aston Villa on loan. So we could even be going out to the MLS, Harvey Elliott, but could be a player that we could look at and see if we could bring him to the club. He is getting no game time at Villa. What about George Otto? I don't know. I don't know. I presume that he's staying and he's fighting for his place, but has he been on the bench the last couple of games? I can't recall him coming on. So, and Marshall's another player that seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth. But if we're going to bring in all these players, you'd think that those youth players are going to drop down the pecking order again. But George Earthy seems like a good talent and somebody that maybe in this QPR Cup game we could utilise. But yeah, there we are. Right, thank you very much indeed, everybody, for watching. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to West Ham Official if you are new. Great interaction, comments, and thoughts. Fulkrug gone, Giller going, Pablo coming, Castellanos is on his way, Sterling, maybe, maybe not, Traore, potentially, and Charlie Cresswell, let's hope so, in my opinion. 7 players, 7 transfer rumours. It's the 2nd of January. What's going on? But that's it from me. Come on, you eyes. Thanks, everybody for your comments in the chat, and we will see you very, very soon. In fact, at 7 o'clock for our Wolves West Ham preview right here on West Ham Official. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year, and goodbye.